So, if you're anything like me, you've probably spent an unhealthy amount of time watching videos about how to grow as a creator. But there are so many videos out there that it's very easy to start feeling completely overwhelmed. Well, don't worry, I got you. Because by the end of this video, you will know how to survive as a small creator, as well as the exact steps that you need to take to actually start blowing up your videos. And by the way, my name is George. I've done tens of millions of views, hundreds of thousands of followers. So I can tell you that this stuff really does work. So it's funny, when you think about becoming a content creator, you probably think of the money, the fame, or even just the thrill of going viral. But nobody talks about how lonely that it actually is. Because the thing is, as human beings, we are wired for feedback. Back when we were cavemen, everything we created, a meal, a song, or even a story told around the fire, it always would have gotten an immediate reaction. But as a small creator, you don't get that reaction, because most of the time when you upload something that you poured your heart and soul into, it's usually just silence. And that silence feels really uncomfortable, almost like you're being rejected by your tribe. So that means that your first challenge as a small creator is surviving that silence. It's training yourself to keep going without that instant validation that our brains are wired to crave. And if you can learn to do that, you will be in the tiny percentage of creators who actually make it through that initial lonely chapter. So let's dive into this a little bit further. How do we actually survive this lonely chapter? Well, the answer starts with something that I call the courage to be bad. Because at the beginning, almost everything that you make will probably be kind of bad. No offense. The first video that you upload, the first time you speak to a camera, it's all gonna feel kind of unnatural. But that is not failure. That is simply practice. And that's what the courage to be bad is. It's putting imperfect work into the world and learning faster than anyone else who's too scared to try. And remember, most people quit in this lonely chapter because they don't like the feeling of being bad at something, especially when the whole world can see those bad videos. So yeah, my first piece of advice is don't fear being bad. Actually embrace it, because slowly over time, that courage will build your confidence, your skills, and also your actual audience as well. And by the way, if you are wanting to take this whole content creation thing seriously, I actually made a 5-day roadmap that shows you exactly how to grow an audience and start earning money as a new creator. So yeah, it's completely free to download, so I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. However, as soon as you start improving, you might run into another issue as a small creator, and that is the comparison trap. So this is where you're spending a lot of time on YouTube watching all these famous creators with amazing videos, perfect editing, and way more views than you. And your brain starts to ask questions like, why am I not there yet? What have they figured out that I don't know yet? Well, it's actually completely normal to feel this. In fact, I get that feeling all the time. But we need to make sure that we don't let that feeling paralyze us and actually stop us from creating. Because you've got to remember that these creators that you look up to, they've been going for years. They have so much practice, and also they probably have, a massive team helping them as well. But on top of that, every single one of these creators that you're comparing yourself to had their own lonely chapters as well. And they also had to have the courage to be bad in the first place. But here's the thing, I know it is hard to stop comparing yourself. That voice in your head that's always judging, always comparing, it's really hard to get that voice to just shut up. But one thing that has really helped me on my journey is to make comparison a tool, not a trap. So instead of just endlessly comparing yourself to successful creators, instead ask yourself, what is this creator doing that's actually working? And what lessons and inspiration can I take from this and adapt to my own style? And if you start treating it in this way, then suddenly comparison stops being an enemy. It becomes a way to find inspiration, a way to measure progress without getting stuck in all that self-doubt and overthinking. Now, there is one final beast beast that every new creator runs into that I really want to help you with in this video, and that is imposter syndrome. And I'm sure you know that feeling. It's the voice in your head that tells you you're a fraud and you're not good enough and really makes you feel like you are an imposter. But I want to really reframe this for you. At the start of your journey, that voice is kind of right. Like, you kind of are an imposter. For example, when I first started, I was horrendous at speaking to camera. My editing was awful, and every single video that I was posting, they were getting about 12 views each. And back then, calling myself a content creator felt kind of delusional. I was, for lack of a better word, an imposter. But the turning point for me came when I stopped trying to outrun that feeling and kind of just accepted it. It's like, yeah, I am an imposter. Of course I am. I've just started. And the funny thing is that every skill looks like that in the beginning. We don't call someone an imposter just because their first guitar lesson sounds terrible. You just accept that they're learning. And it's the exact same thing with content creation. Because the real issue isn't being an imposter or being a beginner. It's letting that feeling of shame stop you from practicing and stop you from showing up as a new creator. And that's why I think that the healthiest thing that you can do right now is redirect all that mental energy that you waste on asking, am I good enough? And redirect it into asking, how can I get better? Because at least that question has an answer. And in time, you'll wake up one day and you'll look at the videos that you're making, you'll look at the audience that you're building, and you'll realize that you don't feel like an imposter anymore. Now you feel like a creator because you've actually become one. And if you are really wanting to take your videos to the next level, I actually made this video right here where I give you probably the single best tip that I've ever given on this channel, and it's also the exact tip or the exact strategy that took me from 0 to 1,000 subscribers in just 8 days. So yeah, click onto that video and I'll see you there.